Welcome again to the complete free Flutter course presented by yours truly, Ovidus Mansurum. Now in this video we're continuing along with our new module, which is going to be all about states. And the way we're going to do that is by building a bottom navigation, which I have displaying from a finished project I already have. So what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to very nicely switch the screens from these buttons over here. Additionally, you can see that when we activate one, the color is going to be a bit different. And I'm just going to make it look really nice like this. And you can also intuit probably that this is going to end up being the makeup of our entire app. We're going to have a stopwatch, a timer, and a settings tab. But we don't have that yet. So I'm going to get rid of all of this. And we're going to run our, going to do a quick Flutter run to open up the project the way we had it last time, which, if you don't remember, we had a quick practice thing over here, just showing us how to use theme data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of this because I don't need this anymore. And instead of returning the scaffold for the home, I'm going to delete this and make a home screen. And as you guys can imagine, that means I have to go into, I'm going to create a new folder inside the screens. You can see I already did that because I wanted to show you guys what it would look like. So once you have that new folder called screens inside lib, you're going to control click here. Sorry, that was right click, a new file. And we're going to call this home_screen.dart. We're going to use impm for our imports, and then STL for our stateless widget. Here we're going to call this our home screen. And in so doing, we can control click here in our main.dart, import our home screen, control shift P, and you can see I already have it on the top because I used it recently. But if you don't have this, just type FIX and it should come up straight away, fix imports. When you see it, you're going to hit just enter, and that's going to fix the imports for you, which mine hasn't yet because I didn't save anything. Let's try again because I'm using the wrong one here, that's why. So I'm going to control click and import home screen, control shift P, fix imports. And for some reason it's not doing it right now. What it should have done was give me an enter here and get rid of this to make my import relative. Normally if this has a problem, it just needs to be restarted. So I'm going to quickly restart VS Code. Okay, so we're going to ignore that little hiccup and just carry right on. So back inside our home screen, what I'm going to do for now is return a scaffold. And this scaffold, because I have the scaffold background color here as colors.black, should automatically show up in the correct color. So I just had this open again the background. So this is what our project currently looks like. Because of our theme data here, I already have it the black background the way I wanted. Now, once I have this, I don't want to give it a app bar just yet. I will later. For now, I'm just going to give it a body of text, and we'll just use hello world. And later, of course, I'll need to change this. And as I mentioned, we're going to focus on this bottom tab navigator, and we can get to that from scaffold. If we look at scaffold, so scaffold has a lot of our layout things like the app bar, the body widget. Another thing it has, if I can find it, is here, the bottom navigation bar. So I'm going to type bottom navigation bar, and this is going to take a widget bottom navigation bar. Now, I could type the entire thing here, but you guys know I like to split things up quite a lot. So I'm going to make a new stateless widget here. And I'm going to call this let's call it I'm just going to call it bottom navbar. And then here, say bottom navbar. and currently it's returning a container, which obviously isn't what I want. I'm going to change this to return a bottom navigation bar. So this is a type of widget which I'm getting from Flutter material.dart. And bottom navigation bar has a few different options. The important ones are the items and the on tap. So what items is going to do for me? Items is going to be a list of bottom navigation bar items, which are going to be those icons as well as the title text that I had underneath. It's the things I can click on. So it's going to be a list. I can annotate the type of list if I want, which is bottom navigation bar item, but it's not necessary to annotate it. And then, so you can see it takes bottom navigation bar item, and this is a class. So I can just say bottom navigation bar item. VS Code brings it up automatically. And let's see what this takes. This is going to take an icon, a title, active icon, and background color. And I'm not going to worry about these just yet. The only thing I'm going to do is give it an icon and also a title. We'll forget about the other two. So for icon, the first one I want to use is an icons.timer. And this might be a little bit confusing because our stopwatch is going to use the timer icon because I think this looks good for a stopwatch. And for the timer, we're going to use something different. But that's fine. And then for the title, now the title takes a widget, so I could give it anything, but I do want to give it a text. So I'm going to give it a text of stopwatch. And for now, I'm just gonna leave it like that, save it, and refresh it just to see how it looks. And it gave me an error because it needs to have at least 2 items. I actually was not expecting that error, but when I made the finished project, I didn't stop after just 1 item. So the second one, I'm going to give it an icons, and I think it was called slow motion video. There we go. So slow motion video is going to be this kind of icon. I could imagine this being like a timer going down rather than the stopwatch, which is going up. So that's why I chose this. But if you find something else you prefer, feel free to use that. For the title, I'm going to give it a text of timer. And since we did have that error, I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 items. 2 would be enough, but since we're doing it anyway, we might as well. For the last one, I'm going to give it an icon of icons dot, and I'm going to use settings here. You could use whatever you want. Settings is this kind of cogwheel thing, so that's fine. And then I'm going to give this a title of text settings, or call it options, or anything you'd like really. Control-Shift-I to format everything. Refresh this, and look what's happened. So it's given me this. First of all, the background color here is white rather than black, because in our main.dart, we gave the scaffold a background color. But let's see if we give this a background color of colors.black, if that's going to fix it. And refresh it, and it didn't. But it's still a good thing that we have this, because now when I go back into my home screen, into my bottom nav bar, I could give each of the items a background color, but that to me seems like a little bit of a waste. So one of the nice things about the bottom navigation bar is, although the only 2 items it really needs is the items and the on tap, I can give it quite a lot of other options. And one of them is the background color. And then similar to what we did last time, I can do a theme.of context dot, and I'm going to use the background color. Save and refresh. And now we can see the one which was selected had this bright white color, and I believe that's my primary color if I'm not mistaken. It is. That might also be the default. No, I'm pretty sure they just took it from my primary color here. But the other 2 are not very visible. If I click on it, you can see it is still there. It's just, you know, the wrong color. It's too dark. So what I'm going to do is give it an unselected color item color here of theme.of.context.accent color. And I was playing around with this before recording this video, so I already decided that I want to change the accent color. I'm going to leave the primary color as colors.white, but I'm going to change the accent color to colors white, and I'll use a darker one like white 54. And what this is going to do is it's going to give me this grayish color, and the bigger the number, the brighter it's going to be. So you can see white 12 would be really quite dark. If I refresh this, we can see it's quite dark. I think you can see quite clearly which one is the main one. However, if you think this is too not different enough than the main color, I could make it a white 38. My concern now would be maybe it's not so easy to read what this says because it's too similar to the background color. So I'm going to change it back. You could also do what I was doing before, which is have a blue color over here instead. But for me personally, I didn't really like the way it looked when I had the selected one in blue on a black and white background. It just didn't really work for me. So yeah, that's that. Okay, but now that we have this, we can go back here, and it does look good overall. There is something I don't like about this. You can't see it, but there is an elevation, a small shadow over here. The reason you can't see it is because the elevation isn't black. If I change this to colors.white, wrong one. If I change this one to colors.white, you should see, okay, I can't see it, but it doesn't matter. You just have to take my word for it that it is there, and I don't want it to be there. So I'm going to say elevation 0, similar to what you guys saw me do in the app bar previously. Personally, I don't like having those shadows, so I'm going to change that to 0. And I think for now, that might be it. The other thing is I would like there to be a bit of padding, a bit of space between the icon and the title. So what I'm going to do, I could wrap the icons in a padding and do it here, and then do it here, and then do it here. And then you guys know what this stuff is like. I'm not going to be happy with the first number, so then I'll have to change it here, and here, and here. But obviously that's not going to be good design. We shouldn't be repeating ourselves, and we should be making it quite easy to make changes as we need to. So what I'm going to do instead is make a function. So I'm not going to make a widget. The reason being, these navbar items, it's similar to the app bar. It can be a bit finicky. It can be a bit weird when you try to make a new widget out of it. So just to simplify things, I'm going to make a function instead. And this function is going to be build navbar item. And it's going to take an icon, and a string title. And what this is going to do is it's going to return, and I'm just going to take exactly this and then change this to a semicolon, Control-Shift-I to format everything nicely. And then we're going to change this text to be just title, and here my icon I'm gonna do here. The nice thing about this is, and actually I'll show you guys later, and I'm actually going to move this from here into my build here. It probably won't make too much sense why I'm doing it now, but later on I'm going to want to make use of this context. So, well, that's why. So now I'm going to change this to match my new function. So I'm going to say build navbar item, and my icon is going to be my icons.timer. My string is going to be stopwatch. So just like the previous one, and now I can delete this. And then for my second one, build navbar item, I'm going to use, same as before, icons.slowmotion, video, and timer. And that should be a capital. And then for the final one, I can use icons.settings, and my title is going to be settings. And I also want a comma here so that I can format it nicely, and then delete these two. Control-Shift-I, save, refresh, and currently it looks the same. The nice thing about this is now I can control-click here, wrap it in a widget, give it a padding, and this of course is going to take a padding property of const edgeinsets.all, and let's try with 5, save, refresh. So notice that because I pulled out this widget, I was able to change all of them at the same time, and I don't like 5 that much. Let's try a bit bigger. Notice now it's very easy to change rather than have to go through and change all of them at the same time. And this is exactly why we should always be pulling out relevant widgets when we can. Do it again. Yeah, I think this is a little bit better. I might say that maybe I want the text to be a bit bigger. I think it's a bit too small. So again, now I can change it in a single place, which is much nicer than what I was doing previously. But I do want to leverage the theme data I was using here. So inside text theme, I already have headline 1, but what I'm going to use is, and I have a lot of choices. I think the displays have all been deprecated. Let's try subtitle 2. Why not? So these things do have some defaults attached to them, but yeah, we can change anything we'd like to change. I'm going to give it a font size of, let's try 14, and font weight, let's try semi-bold. I'm not sure if I want it or not, but we'll try. And you guys will remember from last time that within the text theme over here, I can't use these colors because they haven't been created yet, right? This is the same function, so it doesn't make sense for this property to use something declared inside of this property. This property doesn't exist yet, it hasn't been created, so I do need to manually specify the color. So I'll save this, refresh it, and nothing's happened because I haven't used it yet. So back in my home screen, I'm going to give this a style of text of theme.of context, and this, by the way, is why I put my build navbar item inside here, because I wanted access to this context, which I would not have had if I put it outside over here. And then over here, so theme.of context.theme, text theme in fact, dot, and I believe I use subtitle 2. Save, refresh, and notice now they're all white. Okay, so that was a mistake on my part. I did not want to give them all a color because I want the unselected ones to have a different color. So save, refresh again. Now they're all the wrong color. We'll fix that in a second, don't worry. So actually I made a little bit of a mistake over here. I don't want to give this style over here. What I'm going to do instead is style the text piece by piece from inside my bottom navigation bar. So for now I'm just going to save it and refresh it. So now that I'm not overriding the style, we can see that it's taking the color from selected item color and unselected item color. I haven't defined selected item color, but it's taking that primary color for me automatically. So I have that. Another thing I want to do is currently we can see this text is a little bit bigger than this text, and either way I think they're both a bit too small. So what I'm going to do is say unselected font size, and I can give it, let's try 16. Maybe that's too big. 14. I think it's about the same as the selected one now. And give this a selected font size of 14. Because I do want them to be the same. Okay, So I think this looks really good. This is the actual building of the bottom navigation bar. But notice it doesn't do anything yet because, well, why would it? We haven't hooked it up to anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, inside my home screen, I'm going to make a list of widgets, and I'm going to call this screens. And it's going to be a list, and they're all going to have a center. It's going to have a child of text, first screen. So this is like what we had previously, and that's going to be enough by itself. Then center, child, text, second screen. That's going to bother me, they're not the same. And center, child, text, third screen. I know I always tell you guys to pull out the relevant widgets, but we're not going to keep these, so I don't mind copy pasting a little bit. So over here, what I'm going to do is return, and so I also need one more thing, which is int, and we'll call it screen index, and we'll start with 0. So this is going to control which of these we're seeing. And over here, instead of returning hello world, which by the way isn't showing up because it's in black, it's the same color as my background, I'm going to return a... What am I returning? So my brain's not working. I'm going to return the screens with the screen index here, which we're not going to see currently because it's the same. This text is the same color as the background, but I think I already have headline 1 over here. So use style themed of context dot theme text theme. I always get that wrong every time. Dot headline 1, I believe it was. And yeah, because I'm using the context here, I need to move my list of widgets inside the build function here. It's fine if I leave screen index outside, but I could also move it inside. That's fine. And I'm just going to copy paste this. Again, I hate copy pasting, but because we're not going to keep these, we can make a bit of an exception here. And there we go. So now we can see the first screen, and this screen index is what's controlling it. So I need to pass this screen index to my bottom navigation bar. So the way I'm going to do that is just here, say index, screen index, and I just realized that this should have an underscore. It should be a private method. Of course, index doesn't exist yet, which is why it's being a bit upset with me. So I'm going to make a final int index here, and then control click, create constructor for final fields, refresh, and now it's giving me the index. And what I'm going to do with the index here, I'm still not changing it. So inside my bottom navigation bar, I also have this on tap here. So that's what's going to give me the function that allows me to change it. In fact, if we hover over this, it's going to tell me it's a void function which takes an int and is called when one of the items is tapped. You know, exactly what we would expect. So this does take an int, and the int is going to be index. Of course, you can call it whatever you'd like. And what I'm going to do here is say index equals, so this is gonna be a bit off, so I'm going to change this to ind, and this index is supposed to be this index, but notice it's not working. So that's because it's final. If I delete this, well, now this isn't going to work. It's going to be quite confusing. So this might be your first idea of how to do it, but as you can clearly see, this isn't going to work. What we can do instead of this is to create a function, a callback inside this widget here, and we're going to call this void set index, and this is going to take an index, and all it's going to do is say screen index equals index. So whatever index we give here, we're going to set this one equal to that. And of course, I'm going to have to pass this in here. It's going to be callback, which is set index. And I do still need this index. You'll see why in a second. And then final function. I'll just call it callback over here. Control click. Definitely did the wrong thing. I meant to generate a new constructor. There we go. I don't know what I clicked the last time. So this was a naive way of doing it. Obviously it didn't work. I'm going to change this back. No, I'll change it. I'll leave it as IND. And then in here, I'm going to use the callback and I'm going to pass in my IND. So this is the index. I'm getting 0 here, 1 here, 2 here, which Flutter is giving me every time I tap on one of these buttons. So that should work. The reason I still want this index here is because I want this index to match this one. Currently, if I did it this way, I could press here and this would update, but my bottom navigation bar would stay on the previous one. This wouldn't change. So what I'm going to do is give it an current index of the index we've passed in over here. So that's why I do still need this. Save it, and I'm going to restart everything. So now it should work, but it doesn't. And why is that? Everything looks correct. You know, I'm creating a nice callback. I think I'm doing everything correctly, but it's just not doing it. So what's happening? What's up? Well, we're actually gonna finish on a cliffhanger this time, because to understand what's happening and how to fix this, we need to understand the main topic of this module, which is state. So in the next video, we're going to introduce state and fix this up so this navigation bar is going to work correctly. I hope you guys look forward to that. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll see you guys next time.